That's your phone. Did you turn your phone off?
My phone is
It's off?
OFF. Yeah.
Okay.
It's off.
Okay. That was weird. I heard something.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready? Count.
Count.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Jersey Alchemist. I'm your host, Dr. John Gerard Gallucci.
And I'm Philip D'Angelo.
What's happening, brother?
Well, another day in the salt mines, hustling, grinding, doing what we have to do in Jersey to survive,
Right. Well, Jersey's not like any other state in the Union, is it?
No. Well, it's one of the most densely populated states.
True, but I also think we take a shitty rap, a bad rap.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That started with Madonna when she said she flew into Newark Airport and all she saw was the oil tanks and stuff like that.
She is an oil tank.
But let's be honest here. New Jersey is one of the only states where we have mountains to ski,
We do.
beaches to swim,
We do.
casinos to gamble,
Oh, boy, do we.
right? I mean, not many states can have all that. And they
Right.
might have a few lakes here and there.
Right. Couple garbage dumps. Industry, like
Yeah.
we've seen on popular television shows, shots of the beautiful Jersey Turnpike going through the Meadowlands. We got major sports teams.
Two NFL teams, right? Jets and Giants play here.
You're right.
Good.
We don't regard the Eagles. Oh, I'm just poking a friend of mine named Jimmy. He knows who he is.
Oh yeah, that South Jersey thing, that Eagle stuff and Flyers. That's
And
a
the
big thing.
Flyers
That's
and
a
the
big thing.
Phillies.
Yeah. Everybody tries to get a little piece of Jersey. That's because there's so much here.
That's
And
it.
let me tell you, there's that song by Sinatra, "If you make it here, you can make it anywhere." And I'm assuming he meant New York.
Well, the title of the song was New York, New York.
Well, okay.
But we know where Frankie was from.
That's right,
right?
Hoboken, New Jersey.
Hoboken, New Jersey.
But New Jersey is so tightly wound. The competition here is so fierce in anything you do. I think it's New Jersey. You can make it here. You can make it anywhere.
Right. Do you remember Phil Simms?
Yes.
Right? The
What
NFL
college did he go to?
Alabama.
Almost. Moorhead State.
Moorhead State. There
They're
you go.
small. They drafted
I'm
him.
not even. What state is that in?
John, that's all I know.
Oh, okay.
And I'm thinking that's
Put
the
it in
right
the
answer.
comments. Correct us, guys. Come on. We can't know everything.
Yeah.
But I bring up Phil Simms because he stayed in Jersey, as far as I know, after his career ended, and his son ended up, I think going through high school here, and then I guess played college and
went to the pros.
Did he? Okay.
And then he burst his spleen, and that was it.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, he almost died.
Oh my God.
Chris Simms, yeah, he almost died.
Oh man, that's not good. But Phil Simms was, I guess, a guest on a major sports network, and they were talking about college football. And now, I think Phil Simms was from Alabama, isn't he from? Or Tennessee or Alabama, somewhere.
Yeah.
One of the southern football powerhouses, right? Where people drive for hundreds and hundreds of miles and they camp out in their RVs just for the weekend game. Jersey is not quite known for that, except Rutgers is kind of coming up. But he said something very insightful. He goes, I lived in Jersey for quite a while now. He says, and the population density is high enough that when there's a major sporting event with the homegrown kids in Jersey, he goes, it's about as high a caliber event as you can imagine because there are so many kids. If you go out into the Midwest, you go hundreds and hundreds of miles and there just aren't that many people. He said, Jersey has many, many people to choose from. He says, and if the kids going to college to play Division I football just stayed in New Jersey, Jersey would win the national title every year. And that came out of Phil Simms' mouth.
Yeah,
Right.
good point.
Yeah.
I mean,
There you go.
basketball, baseball. I don't know about baseball so much, but basketball definitely. Football. There's even some hockey players that have made it to the NHL from Jersey.
Johnny Gaudreau.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hurricanes.
Carolina.
No.
Oh.
The Hurricanes club from Jersey.
Oh.
Southwest Vineland. Yeah. Yeah. No, and he, he's not a big guy. What is he? 5'8", 5'9"? And
Yeah.
just kind of like tiptoes through the tulips.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So,
Well, I love that, and that's why I love the name, the Jersey Alchemist. Because it tells you what it's all about. I mean, we're from Jersey.
we are.
And we know what alchemists do.
What do they do? Tell everybody.
Well, that's your specialty. So, I mean,
Well, all right. Alchemist, and we'll say this over and over again, just to kind of, drill it home. An alchemist is somebody who is known to turn lead to gold. Now, lead and gold are similar in their densities. Both are extraordinarily heavy. If you had a chunk of lead in your hand and it was the same size as the chunk of gold in your hand, they're extraordinarily heavy, like surprisingly heavy. And gold apparently has healing properties, medicinal properties, and gold is used in certain items in industry. Lead, on the other hand, is a poison to our system biologically, and it's cheaper than dirt. So, metaphorically, when an alchemist changes lead to gold, that's something that, is, like we said before, is deeply embedded in the hearts of humanity, is to be somewhere and to realize your pot of gold, your treasure. And if you can't find your treasure, just transmute it, just change it from lead to gold. And that's what an alchemist does. So you can take that also, take it further to changing. Everybody says, people toss around that question, what is the opposite of love? And a lot of people say, well, it's hate. Well, not so fast. Lots of people think that the opposite of love is actually fear. And I'm all in on that. So fear to me is the epitome of an emotion that is the opposite of love. Fear is contracting. Fear is cringing. Fear is huddling. And love is expansive and growing. So you can be an alchemist and change fear, our fear-based world, into a world of love. So we can take something that's terrible, like war, famine, violence, sickness, trauma, deceit, all of those things, even the 7 deadly sins that I write about in my book, we can just transmute or change them to something that's more energetically akin to love, which is expansive and wonderful.
Wow. I even like that one phrase, dark to light.
Dark to light. There you
I
go.
mean that pretty much even encompasses everything. I mean, whatever is dark, I mean, you're bringing light to it as an alchemist.
Right.
I mean, and that's what we try and do on these podcasts.
Right.
We touch on subjects that not too many people want to talk about, and they're a little dark in nature, and not always pleasant. But then we try and end up with some kind of resolution.
Right. Case in point. And we purposely never really know what topic is going to pop up. We try to make it kind of organically happen, and I think it's a better conversation that way. But you've all heard the expression, money is the root of all evil, or the lust for money is the root of all evil. But think about this. There's nothing that healthcare should do or rely upon as it works that should be beholden to money. boy, think about how ridiculous that is. That healthcare should be flourishing and not be contingent upon a payoff. Um, the Hippocratic Oath that I had to take when I graduated medical school, said that you're not going to do this necessarily. I can't quote it right now. I should have had it in front of me, but I didn't think of this until now. But you're not seeking reimbursement for helping your fellow man, and I think that's true. The pharmaceutical industry seems to have the entire healthcare industry held hostage. Therefore, the pharmaceutical industry, which is a big, huge part of the corporate military complex, there's that famous video on YouTube of the president of Valiant Pharmaceuticals. I don't remember the guy's name. And I think he maybe was at a Senate hearing committee, and he was being interviewed by a senator on a break, kind of off the cuff, with a camera in his face. He says, look, he goes, let me make it clear. He says, we as a pharmaceutical company, he says, we're not in the business of curing disease. He says, we're in the business of making money for our shareholders. So, as part of the business plan of Big Pharma, far and wide, when they come out with a new drug, you better believe, in a sense, that's a designer drug. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they have older research people doing their thing, at their black research chemistry benches. And I would bet, to me, it's abundantly clear that if somebody found a compound that cured some big tag ticket item disease, cured it straight away, you're never going to see that drug hit the light of day. Ever, never, ever. No. They're going to take some facsimile of that compound, and they're going to impart to it, from a biochemical standpoint, some ability to abate some of the symptoms, to maybe help some of the people, or to maybe fractionally help all of the people, but not all of the way, not every single time. Why? Well, because then they still have that high-priced disease process constantly feeding them and their stockholders. Now, what else is true? They also know that if a drug is going to be ubiquitous and popular, especially after the patents are up, which means it could be just pennies on a dollar, somehow, somewhere, those compounds that are sold all over the place, like ranitidine, which is the generic name for the compound that is Zantac. How in God's name does that end up with a potent carcinogen manufactured into that drug, into that tablet? How? Is it because, oh my God, part of the processing and creation of ranitidine, as a byproduct of the biochemical processing, created a compound that we didn't realize was carcinogenic? Oh, no. That's not what happens at all. Somehow, some way, well-known carcinogens slip into the mix, so that you've got millions of people going to the pharmacy, going to the Quick Check, going to some other delicatessen, and they go, geez, I'm out of Zantac, or I'm out of ranitidine, I better grab some ranitidine. Oh, we got a holiday, weekend coming up, or we have a barbecue in the summer, and oh, I better stock up on my whatever. It could be another form of antacid or an anti-gas product. The point is, the commercials are there that send the wrong message out. I know I'm on a rant, but I saw a commercial and it's just so disturbing. Two guys are at a picnic, and one guy goes, oh, and they're both eating chili dogs. And one guy says to the other, what's the matter, Bob? Oh, there's heartburn. and he's on like his second chili dog. And he goes, hey, try some of my blah, 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 antacid, peptic ulcer disease drug. It's over the counter. He goes, hey, thanks, Pete. And he pops the pill, and you see him going for his third hot dog, his third chili dog. What kind of message is that? So what does this amount to? It amounts to big pharma is not in the business of curing disease. No, they're in the business of making money for their shareholders. That's what it's all about, Alfie. And when they do that, they specifically make their drugs designer so that they're not really getting to the root cause. They have to do something positive. Otherwise, it would be abundantly clear that the drug was a dud. So they have to work a little bit and abate some of the symptoms, but then somehow, some way, somewhere, somebody slips a cancer-causing agent into that drug. Now, I was on a drug that is meant to treat hypertension, high blood pressure, and I was on that drug for a couple of years. And then I noticed that certain batches were pulled off the market. The old recall. Why? Because they were found to have a very potent, well-known carcinogen in that tablet. I was infuriated. And then also it happened with at least ranitidine. How does that happen? What's it all about? People's heads should roll for that. That's like buying your loved one. Pick a popular brand of automobile, something that you rely on to keep them safe and to get them, from point A to point B, back and forth to their job. And the manufacturers know that on a certain number of those vehicles, the accelerator is going to just autonomously go down to the pedal to the metal by itself. How many people will get killed? It's the same thing. I'm sorry.
What are you
I
sorry
went off
for?
on a rant. Isn't that what this show is all about?
It won't be the last one, I'm sure.
It won't be the last one.
Well, to your point, John, I mean, that money's the issue here. Let's talk about where these products, these medicines, are manufactured. It's not in the United States of America. Doesn't China have a large stranglehold on our medicines and where they're produced?
Well, I think they do, except forgive me, but I'm going to take issue with stranglehold. A stranglehold to me connotes or conjures up an image of somehow or another, I'm the president and CEO of a major pharmaceutical company here in the United States, and somehow legally there's a gun held to my head that I have to, outsource the manufacturing of our latest wonder drug to somewhere in China. Oh, I don't think it's like that at all. I think they do it on purpose, and then I think they kind of pin it on the foreign manufacturers to say, well, we don't know how this carcinogen got in here. Look at all the dog treats that were killing dogs. They happen to come from China. As a matter of fact, before I realized that the dog treats, the chicken jerky, chicken shoes that I was given to my dogs, big American flag on the front, and it said, packaged in the USA. Careful, let the buyer beware. It says packaged in the USA. Look at the fine print on the bottom, not even on the back, but on the bottom of the bag, and it says product of China. I didn't know. I got a frantic phone call at work from my daughter. Dad, the dog's head is twice the size it's supposed to be. And I'm like, what? Is he breathing? Is he okay? Yeah, he's okay. I looked it up. I called the vet. Don't give him any more of the treats. Dog treats from China almost killed my dog. And you know what? The next day, I took that bag into the supermarket where I bought it, and I grabbed the manager. Didn't physically grab him. I wanted to. And I brought him over. I says, come over here. You, come over here. And I took him to the dog food aisle, and I showed him the bag, and I shook it in his face. I said, get rid of this shit. I said, because if you don't, there's going to be some people that are going to make you eat it. He looked at me like I was crazy. Well, I guess that's my Jersey way about me. But you know what? I took it like You son of a bitches are maximizing your profits and making money for your shareholders. And you almost killed my dog, but many other dogs died because you're importing this shit from overseas with an American flag on it? You deceitful bastards. Ha.
Mm. And John, I mean, that's leading me right to another conversation. I feel it's connected though. How did this happen? Who allowed this to happen? And this is why I get mad when people say, oh, this party or that party. It's our politicians from the United States of America allowed everything, everything, a production of anything to just go overseas to different companies and leaves us bare boned with nothing and dependent.
Yeah. And you know something? There was something else that was outsourced to China too, about 2 years ago. Y'all know what it is. Y'all. We're in Jersey. We're in Jersey.
I don't know, but it sounded good.
You guys know what it is. That's Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's one of yous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You all know what it is, right? What was outsourced, right? Yeah. Well, gain of function research was banned in 2015, and at some point after that, it was mysteriously moved to some lab in China, right under the nose of somebody I can't mention his name, but you know who it sounds like. I think that guy needs to be mitigated.
I've never seen a guy, well, that person, who shall remain nameless, flip-flop or be so wrong. And where's the shame in these people, John?
They're evil. There's no shame in evil.
That has to be the only reason, because you're saying one thing that you know is patently false, that people have emails of you saying something. They just found a film from 2004.
Yeah.
With that gentleman.
Yeah.
Talking about natural immunities.
Yeah, right.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Oh, he's on an interview and he says, oh, well, if so-and-so's had the flu, they certainly don't need boing, boing, boing. They don't need 1 dose, 2 doses, 3 doses, or 4 doses. Why? Because they have natural immunity.
I do believe he said that is the strongest and best protectant from the virus.
Of course it is. And you know something? Anybody that's been through medical school, that's been in the medical field, even for just a little while, you have to understand that natural immunity is the best immunity. And for those of you who would even think of saying, oh, no, we will have to go get boing, boing, you're all co-opted. You're co-opted. You're brainwashed.
So
aren't I acting like a nasty jerk today?
I don't think so.
I think it's the coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Where I've been saying this for a long time. Where are the heroes? Where are the warriors? Who's standing up and saying this and yelling from the mountaintops? There's nobody.
I think when people look, there are people who respond to enough is enough. And then there are other people who will never respond. I don't know if you want to divide them up into 2 different groups, like it's kind of like a crap table. What is the guy's name? A croupier or something? Because that little stick with the, right? And let's put all the red pillars over here and the blue pillars over there. Something tells me that if you've been red-pilled, and it has nothing to do with political affiliation, it doesn't. Because I know a lot of people who are way, 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 way on the left. Guess what? They say, oh man, have I been red-pilled? Red-pilled. And you know what? They're like, thank God. I can't believe it didn't happen sooner. But you know what's happening is all of this bullshit that's being shoved down our throats and up our asses by the mainstream media, which of course is the right arm it's the right arm propaganda machine working for this bullshit New World Order, which I've personally been railing against for a dozen years on social media. And I want to call out somebody who's in heaven. His name was Vincent Sabella. He was a Facebook friend of mine. And I actually had never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I'm friends with his daughter and his grandkids. But he preceded me with railing against the New World Order. He was a blessed soul and died too prematurely. He passed on. And Vin, if you're hearing this, if you're looking down on us, we need your help, man. We need your help. But I can kind of lose my shit when I talk about the lies and deceit. Now, I've been trolled on social media. I've been ridiculed. I've been scoffed at. I've been eviscerated. I'm talking about by smart people. And I'm not talking about people that I never met before. I'm talking about people I grew up with. And you know something? I see it right up until this morning. Somebody that I grew up with, that's a smart person, an accomplished person, will be railing and spitting fire and quoting CNN, quoting Don Lemon, quoting Brian Stelter, and spitting fire as they quote them. That blows my mind. You have got to be kidding me that you actually think that these shitheads are actually on the boob tube. To tell you the truth, they're full of shit in every sense of the concept of being full of shit. They are the fullest and they are the shittiest.
When is there going to be a recourse for anybody who falsely comments in the media, purposely misleading people? I mean, when is that going to take place? I mean, you don't want to go into a third world country where some reporter says something and right away you put them in jail. But, I mean, have backup, be accurate, have facts backing up what you're saying.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think the problem is that the monster is so massive. The movement has been clandestine, but now they're brazen because they're in their final stages. You know what? You remember the old horror movies from the 1950s? The monster through the whole picture had everybody in suspense, and then it would come out and destroy an amusement park. Over went the Ferris wheel. There goes the roller coaster with mom and dad and the little kid zooming, down toward the monster. And these people, their construct, their movement is monstrous. It's unbelievable. But see, always at the end, when the monsters were mortally wounded, what did they do when they were mortally wounded? And they were biting and gnashing and snapping and clawing and look out. It wasn't just them rampaging through a city or an amusement park, but they were the deadliest when they were mortally wounded. And I say that the New World Order knows that its days are numbered, and now they're pulling out all stops, which is why they're no longer in the shadows. They're now up front. They're on TV. You got that idiot mayor from Chicago about we all must pay allegiance to the New World Order. Oh my God, please get me a bucket like on Monty Python. I need another bucket. Mr. Creosote. These people make me sick. Klaus Schwab. How about Bill Gates? Bill Gates, after making billions and billions and billions of dollars, somehow or another he buys 430 million acres of farmland? What do you think old Billy Boy has up his sleeve? It ain't good. He's not on your side. He's not on your side.
Interesting.
Slowly but surely, people all over the world, like we talked about in a previous episode, one by one, now it's 2 by 2, 4 by 4, 6, 8, 16, 20, 25, 100, a million. More and more people are going to come out of their shell. There's a lot of light workers out there, friends, that are sleepers. They've been around here for decades. They're not all 12-year-old, superhuman geniuses, child genius. No, A lot of them are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even in their 70s. And guess what? They're like a sleeper cell. They're God's sleeper cells. And you know what? They wake up and they may even query, why now? Why when I'm in my 60s or my 70s? I could have been doing so much good for the world if I just knew this stuff when I was 30. Don't worry about why. Everything happens in God's timing and for God's purpose. So just remember, people, that everything that's happening on this planet now has been prophesized, and the politicians aren't going to help us turn this around. The politicians are bloodsuckers. They're energy vampires. They've been paid off. They've been blackmailed. They've been on the Lolita Express. They've been filmed in a compromising position, or they're just purely dark and don't need to be compromised and don't need to be blackmailed and don't need to be paid off, and they would just rather be ugly dark.
You know, I heard a report today, John, talking about the media and one of our favorite media sites, Twitter, okay? And Elon Musk, did you hear that report?
No.
I
believe today?
Somebody was talking about today that he is in the process, he's going to buy a certain percentage of Twitter. He's going to invest a lot of his money, and because he doesn't like the platform, how it's one-sided, he wants it to be a little more equal, where everybody has a right to say free speech.
You mean it's not going to censor people anymore?
Well, I don't know, but I think that's his
or
goal.
Or deplatform or cancel people.
Yeah, which is, it was so wrong and so un-United States of America. Because, you know, he wants...
All I want to know is Jack Dorsey in prison? And why isn't he in prison?
Yeah. I mean, so Elon Musk just bought like a ton of stock or share. He's the largest shareholder of Twitter.
He is?
I think he just became it, or he's in the process of.
Really?
Yeah, because what good is having all this money? His mindset is, if you don't have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You're not the United States of America. You're somewhere else.
We haven't been the United States that we thought we knew and loved for a long, long time. And all of this crap that's happening now, to me, the bioweapon that was unleashed upon the world, we won't say what we're talking about, but I think everybody knows, this has backfired on the New World Order. You know why? Instead of killing more people than they planned, and instead of locking people down and crushing us in a merciless way, which it did, oh no, it's gotten everybody woken up. It's kind of like the sayings that were being passed around after Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. You know, the Japanese Imperial Navy awoken the sleeping giant. And then boom, we get into the war. Everything that the planet has been through in the last 2 years hasn't diminished humanity. Oh no, it's awoken the sleeping massive giant. And for the several thousand scumbag, evil little tree toads, poisonous toads that are perpetrating this shit. And yes, it is true. So you scoffers out there, leave your comments. Scoff away, okay? Those people, all I can say is, I just pray, I pray for justice. I pray for justice for humanity, not just for the United States, but for everywhere on this planet. I pray for justice. That's it.
Wow. I think you're onto something, John, when you're saying that people are waking up.
Sure they are.
Look at the videos that you very rarely see because they're not showing them. Protests in other countries, Australia, Britain, even Italy was having protests. I mean, and there's protests even in the United States that they refuse to show on TV. People are waking up.
Yeah. Have you, just yesterday I saw, and we got to be careful because, Mainstream media really, really can hoodwink the viewer. Case in point, my friends that are spitting fire while they're quoting MSNBC and CNN, right? But how do we know who's producing the videos that are coming out of Australia? Except the content. Just yesterday, I saw a video that was so damning to the Australian authorities and their police forces. I mean, the police in Australia, they're not police. Australia is a prison colony. Now, I think the original thought on Australia a long time ago was that it was some kind of penal colony from Great Britain. I don't know the whole history. That's what I read. That's what I've been taught in grammar school. But I can tell you what, everything that I'm seeing about the Australian police forces, in general, not everybody, they're no better than really, really nasty, violent, terrible, evil prison guards. I mean, they're just beating people. Citizens that are protesting peacefully. And here come the Australian authorities with their riot gear and their tear gas canisters and their rubber bullet. I mean, it's unthinkable. I don't know where they get these people from. I think that maybe Australia has a secret island somewhere off the coast of Australia that's actually Australia's penal colony, and they pick and choose the most heinous characters from that penal colony and say, here, put this on, put this vest on, put the cap on. Now you're our law enforcement, and go and kick the shit out of the Australian population. You know something? I think they're getting away with that because the Australian population, as far as I know, doesn't have a Second Amendment, and I think their guns were taken away for the most part. Maybe they got a big old knife like Crocodile Dundee, but that's just not going to make it. It's not going to suffice. So I am so sickened by what I see in Australia. Anybody out there from Australia? Come on, comment. Tell me I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong over this. My big pet peeve in my life ever since I was a little kid, I can't I can't stand a bully. But now we're talking about something way worse than bullies. Way worse.
And in those videos from Australia, I mean, they were not only beating men, but women as well.
Oh, yeah.
It was
pregnant woman, the whole 9 yards.
It was brutal. John, let's talk about our neighbor to the north, the lovely Canada.
Geez. Yeah.
Look what happened there. Talk about how do you say that word?
Totalitarianism?
That's the word I'm thinking of. Thank you, John. And what those people went up there. I mean, look what they did to those truckers. And that display, that protest to me was so beautiful. People were singing. They were just expressing that they were unhappy with the government.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Arrests, beatdowns, taking people's bank accounts.
Freezing people's bank accounts. People that were up there peacefully protesting, and now they're pariahs. There's a segment of the Canadian population. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Here comes Greta. How dare you? How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are? And Justin Castro, who the hell do you think you are? I think you know who you are. You're a legacy, aren't you? Talking about how you admire the dictatorship of communist China right on a video. You douchebag. Oh, that feels so good. When I see you on television, I just want to lose it. I want to toss my cookies. And you know something? On a previous episode, the American border guards accused me of being a Canada-phile. I am. But Justin, you're a douchebag. And I do not like what you do. I do not like your stupid New World Order game. So, let's see how long you last when the smoke clears from all of this. Yeah.
John, I see your testosterone levels have been raising as the videos going on
I
here.
just, you know what? We just touched on topics today that they just, I don't even have words for how angry and upset they get me. Now, we are the Jersey Alchemists, but we are from Jersey. And my brand of Jersey isn't, pastel marshmallows.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. So, what else about Canada?
No, just about the way they were going through their struggles and protesting, and how that iron hand of the government was just I can't believe Canada is so their form of government and their what's he a prime minister
Yeah,
is so like from the 1800s. I mean,
yeah,
wow, I thought they were a
right,
little more democratic than
right.
that.
And the thing that gets me crazy is that there's so much evidence that on this second time around, lots of people think there's no way he could possibly have won. Ah, surprise! And that little, douchebag wet behind his ears is leading a major country. See, these people that find themselves in positions of extreme power, their New World Order legacy, their generational legacy families. So if you didn't know this, all you got to do is go on YouTube or Google or uh, uh, I'm out of love with DuckDuckGo as of lately, but just pull up images of Justin Trudeau and Fidel Castro and understand something. You might say, well, how is it that they look so much like each other? Like, of course, it must be just a coincidence because they're, so far apart. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. I saw Justin Trudeau's mother on an interview on the Bill Boggs show. He was a New York City
Oh,
talk
Bill
show
Boggs.
host. Yeah. And she was on the show and she was sitting there kind of being her flippy self, kind of a flower child, without boundaries or borders, so to speak. And she says, "Oh, Fidel, he's such a good friend. We would go down and have these all weekend parties, drinking, eating, having all sorts of fun. Oh, it was so much fun." And then, of course, it was rumored that, Pierre Trudeau, Justin's dad, the former Prime Minister of Canada, doesn't that kind of get you upset that dad was Prime Minister and now Sonny Boy is Prime Minister? What is this? What is this? Is it royalty? Is it kings and queens? And it's all, come on. So apparently, Justin Trudeau was separated from his wife, and she was spending time in Havana. And then little squirt Justin Castro Trudeau pops up. Lots of people, lots of truthers on the internet won't touch this. I guess I'm not one of them. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
pretty amazing.
oh yeah,
It can't be just a coincidence.
don't take my word for it. Look it up, and then you're gonna go. There's no way that this guy from the Jersey Alchemist is. He can't be. He's got to be a conspiracy theorist. He has to be. He's probably got 3 or 4 tin hats on a shelf off camera. No, I don't. And once you look this up, you're gonna go, "Oh my God!" And when you put it together with the backstory, you're gonna see it all makes sense. It all comes together. It just does. So, does evil run in bloodlines? You bet your ass it does.
Hmm. What's the end game to something like that? I mean, really? I mean, Cuba? I mean, all they want to do is risk their lives and get over to the United States. And every Cuban that I know of, I mean, I don't know that many, but that became American citizens, they love this country and they despise Fidel Castro and what he did to them.
Well, it is true. And a long time ago, I was engaged to a Cuban girl who was naturalized into the United States as a little girl. And her whole family feels exactly that way. That if they could make the powers that be in Cuba evaporate, they would. Except now there's an interesting phenomenon. Now we're too many generations beyond Batista and Castro. So Batista was, you know, he was in control before Castro, and he was an ally of the United States. And then when he was, I guess, deposed, run out, Castro took over via a communist revolution. Now we're too many generations beyond that, and the young Cuban American kids down around the area of Florida are far too co-opted by the educational system, by what they see on mainstream media, and now they're not thinking that way.
Wow.
They're thinking open borders, socialism, communism. You've got to be kidding me. So,
which has never worked in any country.
Just like, well, it's funny, you know. And then the socialist and the communist on the internet will say, well, communism, you know, may not have worked because it was done the wrong way, and then, you know, but capitalism is a disaster. It always eats itself from the inside out. Well, maybe that's true, but maybe it's because douchebags that are perpetrating the New World Order have been destroying capitalism from the inside out. Look, for years I'd say, you know what? Communism? No. At least 200 million dead over the years attributed to communism. Socialism? I'm not so sure. It might be a slippery slope into communism. But capitalism is being perpetrated without accountability. And that's not good. It can't last long if it's being perpetrated without accountability or responsibility. And I think that it's something that's beyond the lust and greed factor. I think it's being pushed in this direction on purpose. I just do.
Let's face it, the United States of America, worldwide, is really the youngest country in the world. We're a baby, 200 some odd years old. You go into Turkey, Greece, you're talking thousands of years.
Yeah.
So how does a country so new become so strong, so powerful that everybody wants to come here? And there's only one answer, and that's capitalism and freedom.
Yeah, capitalism and freedom. Yeah.
You know, they say that no powerhouse, no empire has ever lasted more than, I think it's 200 years, 220 years.
I thought the Roman Empire was 400 years, but I could be way wrong on that. I'm no expert on that.
Yeah, I mean, all these powerhouses, they fell, and really they fell because they were eaten from the inside. I mean, and they just collapsed, you know, because of greed, and people just all of a sudden started pushing in the wrong direction, and nobody stood up to them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of interesting because for a long time now, I'm looking at the dissolution of tradition in the United States, the decay of the educational system, the decay of almost every agency and discipline in the United States. And it's kind of like, you know, it reminds me of the fall of any previous empire. I mean, it's not different. So I think, please don't be upset by what we're saying. I do believe everything I've said on today's podcast. But again, holding true to the agenda of the show, the Jersey Alchemist, we will now offer our best to turn this unbelievable dark situation around and try to shed some light on it. And how do we do that, friends? How do we do that? You have to dig deep, And every one of us has a dark side, our shadow self, and every one of us has a God center. Turn within. Find the God inside of you and learn how to pray and learn how to meditate. And yes, we did say that this segment of the show will be redundant, right? Because if something works and nothing else does, then you have to employ what works over and over again. So connect with your God. Connect with your Creator. And be earnest. And remember that when you're here to be a creator, and right now we're living in a fear-based matrix, a fear-based paradigm. Just change the entire picture. Now, how do you do that? Talk to your friends and your relatives. Learn how to pray. Praying is talking to your God. And then, beyond that, learn how to meditate. And meditating is going to visit the deities that you know and love. And it doesn't matter what their names are or who they are or where they are. Just rise up to them and they will meet you halfway. And be very, very straightforward and use all intent. Use your direct energetic intent. The two greatest components of creation for us, because we are the creators, would be use your imagination. Create the most heavenly, love-filled world you can imagine. And what pushes it like a rocket fuel? Emotion. You cannot pray or meditate like a lump on a log. You cannot pray and meditate and expect it to work if you're a deadfall tree or if you are the log. No, you have to use your vigor, use your energy, use everything you've got. Put your heart into it. Your heart, your mind, your body, your soul. So, number one, it's your creativity, your imagination. And number two, use your emotion. Your emotion is the fuel that will get us there. And the more people who do this, it's kind of an infectious process. Tell people in the morning when you get to work, hey, good morning, yeah, God bless you. They'll be completely stunned. And at first you're going to feel like a hoax, that you have no business telling people God bless you. But you know something that happened to me years ago? And the next time you see those people, your encounter is already on a higher level. And they'll say, God bless you. And all of a sudden you get over your inhibited selves and everybody's blessing one another. That's a great start. That's how we're going to take down the evil New World Order and create heaven on earth.
I like that, John. I like when you said turn within.
Yeah.
Because that's where any movement has to start. You have to make sure you're strong enough to carry that sword, like St. Michael, into battle, and it starts with yourself. And then, you know what? Take care of your immediate family.
Oh, yeah.
And from there...
Charity begins at home.
Oh, yeah, your immediate family. And once that's taken care of, take care of your neighbor.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, it's something organic. It's something that's where it all starts. Before you know it, your town's a different town. Maybe your county. Then sooner or later, your state. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
But you're 100% correct. I feel that. Start within. Turn within.
Now, one last note. When the Pharisees were testing Jesus and they said, which of the commandments are the greatest? That's a loaded question. Not unlike, what is truth? And the Pharisees said, which of the commandments are the greatest? And he picked two, one from Deuteronomy and one from Leviticus. It's love your God with all your heart, mind, body, and strength. And the other was to love your neighbor or your brothers and sisters as yourself. This is what just destroys me. Humanity, not just the United States, is going to hell in a handbasket at the behest of these disgusting people who are the furthest iterations from those two commandments. The people that are perpetrating the New World Order, Klaus Schwab, you Do you think Klaus Schwab thinks about loving God above all others with his heart, his mind, his body? Klaus Schwab? No. You think Bill Gates feels that way? No. You think Tony Fauci feels that way? No. No. You think the politicians in Washington or Canada or Great Britain feel that way? Some of them may, but I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know how they would maintain their positions if they held God above all other things, people, entity, whatever. And do they love their neighbors as themselves? Oh, come on. They're so far from those two commandments. And all you have to do, look, people, there's 7.7 or 7.9 billion of us, and there's a couple of thousand of them. Your creators. Use those two greatest commandments. Pray and meditate, and we'll change the world. And those that are driving us to hell in a handbasket will have nothing to say about it because they will be silenced. Aren't you tired of being silenced?
Amen. That was beautiful. Well said.
All right, brother.
All right.
All right. God bless. See you soon on the next episode of The Jersey Alchemist. You want to say something?
If you like what we're doing, follow us, press the like button, subscribe to The Jersey Alchemist. Thank you.
God bless.
Thanks, John. Peace.
Cool. I hope we're under an hour. I think we are.
No, we're just at an hour.
Oh, yeah?
I think so, sure.
56:43.
Just on. Yeah, yeah.